So a study by the Public Affairs Research Institute into funds allocated for basic free electricity has uncovered a scandal totaling billions of rand. Municipal councillors stand accused of diverting money that they received from National Treasury to subsidize free basic services for indigent households. Only a portion of qualifying households have benefited, we're told, while others are either not on the national grid or have been unfairly excluded. The report says unused subsidies were misappropriated, with 9 billion rand allegedly pocketed by municipalities in the 2019-2020 financial year alone. For more on this research, let's bring in senior researcher at that institute, Dr. Tracy Ledger, who joins us now via our Skype link. Dr. Ledger, great to chat to you, albeit about this troubling development. Perhaps let's begin by understanding the significance of this. This money obviously meant for poorer households who I imagine wouldn't be able to afford this electricity. It makes it all the more scathing that it's allegedly being stolen.
Yes, it is. I think there's a caveat there. The money has been diverted, right, and there's a loophole in the legislation that allows municipalities to do this. But they're supposed to report if they do it, and they're supposed to consult with the communities, which they're not doing. And it makes a very, very significant impact on the poorest households. I mean, we're looking at a benefit that's worth 100 rand a month, which for a lot of people watching the show might not seem like a lot of money. But we need to remember that there are tens of thousands of South African households who have nowhere near enough money to feed themselves every month. So that amount of money is actually very important in a poor household. And if we look just at the free basic electricity, and even if we're generous, and we take out the number of households that don't have an electricity connection, I mean, we're talking about billions and billions and billions of rands that the poorest households in South Africa have to take out of their own pockets to buy electricity. And in this way, local government which should be, doing things to promote poverty reduction strategies, are actually contributing to household poverty in this way.
Yeah. Let's speak about the procedures that usually unfold. So the money is actually allocated from National Treasury and it's given per household, but it's actually up to the municipal councillors themselves to ensure that the money lands up where it needs to be, and that's obviously where the gaps lie. I mean, does this finding point to a need to relook at that system?
Yes, so it's important to realize that the municipalities don't have to find this money out of their own pockets. As you say, it is allocated from National Treasury. But the municipality has got absolute authority to decide whether or not you can be registered as an indigent household. And only if you can be registered as an indigent household do you get any of the free basic services, including electricity. So what our research suggests is that actually municipalities are making it as difficult as possible for households to register, no matter how poor they are, because then they don't get the benefit, and the municipality can use the money for something else. And the reason why this is happening is because really no one is exercising oversight over this. The free basic electricity policy belongs to the National Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, but if you read their latest annual report, they don't even mention the free basic electricity policy. Treasury is in charge of the allocations. They're not in charge of seeing what the municipality does with the money. So because no one is really exercising oversight, we've got millions and millions of households that should be having this benefit and are not. And it's electricity, it's water, it's sanitation, and it's happening simply because no one is making sure that it doesn't happen.
Sure. Outside of the tenets of morality, what else is there that acts as an incentive for municipalities to ensure that the money they receive specifically for poorer households is used on poorer households?
There's no incentive at all. In fact, there's a very strong incentive not to hand the money over to the benefit of poor households, because a lot of municipalities are in financial trouble. So you get this chunk of money from National Treasury. Technically speaking, you only have to fund the number of households that qualify. So you've got a built-in incentive in the system to make sure that as few households as possible qualify, because then you can keep the money. And what we've seen actually over the last 4 or 5 years is that the number of qualifying households for all basic services has actually fallen, even though we know that poverty has not come down to the same extent. Every year we see fewer and fewer households are getting their free basic services, because most municipalities also make you come and renew your indigent status every year. So households are going back to renew their status and they're being declined. And this is a very, very worrying trend.
Absolutely. Speaking about what is perhaps concerning, I mean, the allowance itself, to some people, might leave a lot to be desired. That's the free basic electricity allowance. It gives you about, 50 kilowatt hours? Yeah. That doesn't sound like a lot to me.
It's extremely low. And I think, once again, it highlights the fact that, when we look at the 1998 Energy White Paper, it really saw access to affordable energy as a way to increase standards of living, to reduce poverty, to reduce inequality. And that entire message has become completely lost in our energy policy. So research shows that, in fact, the absolute bare minimum of electricity that a household needs, and that's just a minimal amount of cooking, no heating, is about 200 kilowatt hours per month. And as electricity becomes more and more expensive, we find that the poorest households are spending 15, 16, 17% of their income every month just trying to buy electricity. And then if people can't afford to buy electricity, they use other things. They burn coal, they burn wood, they burn other materials in their house. We have incredibly troubling statistics in respect of the death of children due to indoor air pollution. Lots of us are worried about outdoor air pollution, but indoor air pollution in South Africa is a huge problem. Thousands of homes are lost through shack fires due to using paraffin. People are injured, people die. And, energy is supposed to be something that promotes development, that contributes to reducing inequality. People have livelihood opportunities from energy, and we've completely lost that in the entire system. The role of electricity now is not seen as developmental. It's a way to create income for the municipality.
Yeah. Does your study explore how your findings potentially give insight to the development of things like illegal connections? I mean, I imagine if a poorer household is not getting support from municipalities, they might want to pay off that once-off fee to whoever is willing to plug them into the grid without them having to pay for it, and just deal with the consequences thereafter.
It is a huge incentive to link to have illegal connections if you simply can't afford to pay electricity every month. I mean, as you say, you save up and you make the once-off fee, but then you don't have to pay the escalating monthly charges. So this is what's a little foolish about the system. If we had a system that actually gave poor households a basic amount of electricity that they actually need, which always was the intention of the Energy White Paper, we would then save all of the costs that are created in the system by things like illegal connections and overloading. So I have no doubt that it is a very strong incentive. If you look at a place like Umsunduzi, for example, where only about 10% of the households, the qualifying households there, actually get their free basic electricity. The local electricity action group took the municipality to court to try and get their free basic electricity on their prepaid meters a couple of years ago. The municipality had a settlement with them just before they went to court and promised they would get the free basic electricity. They never got any of the free basic electricity. Those households really believe that they have no other options because the municipality flatly refuses to give them the small benefit to which they believe, quite correctly, that they're entitled to.
Sure. Dr. Ledger, how do we fix this? Is my natural next question. It sounds like quite an interwoven, complex issue. It certainly won't take weeks to get right. And as you answer that question, help us place the conversation around independent power producers, which is also certainly gaining traction in government and many other civil organizations.
Well, let me start with the independent power producers. I mean, like a lot of people in this country, I believe strongly that we need to decarbonize the economy, that renewable energy has got a lot of benefits, and there are many pros. But, and it's a big but, there is absolutely no guarantee whatsoever that if we have a cheaper source of energy generation, and a lot of people have pointed out that renewables have become significantly cheaper over the last couple of years. The way in which the system is structured is that there's absolutely no guarantee that just because it's cheaper to generate electricity, that households will actually end up paying less for electricity. And the important thing there is that we all know that Eskom is chronically short of money and needs to generate as much income as possible. But what a lot of people don't realize is that the profit on electricity sales is the single biggest contributor to municipal income. It's not that those sales, just subsidize electricity. They're intended to subsidize a whole lot of other costs in the municipality. So there's a huge incentive for municipalities, even if some miracle happened and they were getting cheaper electricity from Eskom, or it's very likely they could get cheaper power from IPPs, from being able to sign their own agreements. There's absolutely no guarantee whatsoever that would actually turn into lower prices for consumers, because there's an incentive. And at the moment, there's absolutely no part of the discussion around the just distribution in South Africa, the just transition, that talks about a just distribution, that talks about access. There's this assumption that because renewables are cheaper, that will somehow filter through. But unless we have a strong policy and a strong goal to make electricity more affordable and more accessible for poor households, that is never going to happen. So that actually is the first thing that needs to happen. Our entire debate about transition in our energy system needs to include a strong focus on access to electricity, access to energy, as well as the generation of energy, which is where the conversation is focused at the moment. In respect of the free basic electricity, we've made a recommendation in the report, and we have had some conversations about it. We think it would be extremely useful for the Auditor General to start reporting on this in their annual reports of municipalities, because at the moment nobody really knows that this is going on. So having it included in the annual audit would make it a lot more visible and create an opportunity where communities can say to their municipality, look, that you got funding for, let's say, 10,000 households, you only gave services to 3,000 households. Explain yourself, because the point is the information is all publicly available. People just don't know where to find it.
Absolutely sobering points. Important conversation this. Thanks very much indeed for your time and your insights. Dr. Tracy Ledger is a senior researcher at the Public Affairs Research Institute. Once again, Dr. Ledger, thanks very much indeed.